Okay, I've recently made some videos about the negative impacts of porn on relationships and society's perspective on sexuality. I wanted to recap on a few things that I didn't really get to fully touch base in the previous videos. I received a lot of feedback from these videos, both positive and negative. The negative was mainly in regards to people calling me a hypocrite, which I can see where they were coming from. I mean, they were basically saying, oh, well, you know, you've worked in porn, you still have an OnlyFans, you know, who are you to say that it's a negative thing? And I don't think that people were really grasping my perspective or my point in the videos. And I wanted to kind of clarify these and get a little bit more in depth. Basically, having worked in the industry, and as a female, my perspective is a little bit more intense because I've seen things firsthand from the perspective of a performer, working with agents, dealing with fans, dealing with the industry in itself is a very crazy world. But I personally see sexuality is a sacred thing shared between two people when you're in a relationship. You're choosing each other to share your sexuality and your body with. When a partner is choosing to watch porn or say go to a strip club without their partner's acknowledgement, that is not okay. Would it be okay if your partner was talking sexually to another person, texting, calling? Would that be okay? I guarantee that many people wouldn't be okay with that. Why? Because you're giving your sexual attention and energy to someone and something else. And I wouldn't tolerate that for many reasons. But in many forms, porn is that way. Because people are often fixated on seeing and fantasizing about things that they don't have, instead of focusing on what they do have and appreciating what they do have in their partnership. And if a partner, or if the partners are communicating this and saying like, yeah, you know, they know that each other are looking at porn or doing things and they're okay with it, that's a different situation. But majority of the time, someone is watching porn or doing things behind the other person's back because they don't want them to know. That is not okay. It is not okay. And people think it is, and they justify it because, oh, you know, society says it's okay. Everyone watches porn. Newsflash, no, okay? It's not okay to be doing this shit behind your partner's back. And I don't think a lot of people realize the insecurity and the negative impact that it will have on your partner if they do know that you're doing it. And I don't want to be sexist, but majority of the men or majority of the people that are looking at porn behind their partner's back are men. If you tell your woman, oh yeah, you know, I'm watching porn when you leave the house, they're not going to be okay with it. Majority of them are not, okay? Let's be realistic. I am not. I certainly am not. I have no tolerance for that shit. Because if I'm not enough for you, why are you in a relationship with me? Okay? And it's not a matter of, oh, you know, it's not the same, like it's just fucking porn. No, it doesn't matter, okay? Just because it's become so rampant and saturated in society doesn't mean that's okay. Do you realize that it makes people insecure? Do you realize that people don't want to think about their partner fantasizing about someone else? Sexuality is something that is shared between two people. It's not a matter of, oh, well, you know, this is my private time. This is my private world. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, you can, but what the fuck are you doing in a relationship then? Okay? Maybe people think that my views are intense. I don't think so. I think it's a matter of being loyal, okay? And having self-control. I mean, where is the self-control in any of this anymore? I mean, people are so focused on this constant, what they don't have, this insatiable desire that exists in society now because of social media, because of porn, because of the internet. Have some fucking self-control. That's what it comes down to. Save your sexuality for a meaningful output. Put it into your partner. Stop jerking off the second your fucking partner leaves the house. Okay? That is not okay. And people want to call me a hypocrite because I've worked in porn? No, motherfucker. I've witnessed this firsthand. I've witnessed hundreds of men just messaging and saying creepy messages. Oh, look, my wife's asleep in the other room. You want to like help me jerk off? No, I don't. And in fact, if you do have a wife and you're fucking on my OnlyFans, get the fuck off because I don't want you following me. Maybe you should go be loyal to your partner instead. Porn could be used as a tool. It could be used as a tool for people that maybe don't have access to a partner. They're lonely, okay? Or, you know, maybe your partner isn't giving you what you need. And you gotta rely on that. Okay, that's more understandable. But communicate that to them. Be honest with them. Have the decency and the balls to go up to your partner and say, hey, you know, I'm not getting what I want sexually. Can we communicate about this? Are you okay if I'm watching porn, you know, instead to help like satisfy what I'm looking for? If they're not okay with it, you gotta communicate. That is a partnership. That's a part of it. It shouldn't be work to have to communicate. And remember that connection comes from vulnerability, okay? And vulnerability comes from communicating, even when it's uncomfortable. That's the only way you're gonna find connection. And being honest and direct, being open about what you want, who you are, what you need. That is how you create connection. And we've lost that in so many ways in modern day society. And that's disturbing. And that's sad. And people are constantly trying to justify their actions because they're trying to avoid vulnerability. Well, guess what? Wake up. Grow a pair of balls and fucking do something with honor. Be a loyal partner. Sexuality is a shared thing. It's a shared thing. And if you're truly in love with someone and you can be honest with them, then you can be honest about what you're doing. And I guarantee you, majority of partners, they're not going to be that comfortable knowing that you're watching porn behind their back. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't tolerate that shit. Your ass would be out the fucking door. And that's what happened with my ex. Well, there's several reasons why I kicked my ass to the curb. Why I kicked my ex's ass to the curb. But the point was the lack of honesty and genuine candidness in the relationship of what you want. That should be on the forefront. I mean, that should be something that shouldn't even be questioned. If you don't have the decency to tell your partner what's up and what you're doing, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. So, communication, key. And honestly, you know, you get to a certain point in life you shouldn't be fucking jerking off and watching fucking porn when you have a partner. I mean, grow up, you know? I mean, like, you're a young kid and you're exploring sexuality and you're watching porn, it's understandable. If you're single and you don't have a partner, it's understandable. You're in a relationship and you have a partner, come on. Like, fucking appreciate what you have. Wake up. Try to connect with your partner. And if you can't, communicate it. Okay? So that's what I was trying to say. I want to kind of explain what happened within my relationship and why I really strongly feel this way. And it's not just because my experience personally. I mean, I've always felt this way. But when... I'm just going to dive into it. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Because it has to be told. I mean, this story is just... Hopefully it will inspire other people to get out of situations where they're not being treated right. But I met my last ex years ago. I was 25. I had quit the industry. Okay? Repeat, quit the industry. I was not shooting porn. And I wanted to find a normal relationship. I wanted to be with a partner that wasn't involved in the adult industry, and I wanted to have something that gave me a sense of normalcy and stability, because in my mind, shooting porn, fucking other people is not conducive to a healthy relationship. So I was never in a relationship while I was shooting. I was focusing on that at the time and avoiding having an intimate relationship because I knew I couldn't have both. Because I personally like monogamy if I'm in a relationship. I like to focus on one person, and if we want to introduce something else into the relationship, then that's a discussion to be had together. So I got into this relationship with this person. I fell in love very quickly. I am an intense lover, and I am an intense person. So, you know, some people might not vibe with that. I am who I am. And I have certain expectations when it comes to a relationship and a partnership. And my ex was very good at manipulating. He came from a wealthy family, spoiled, promised the world, made me feel really good in the beginning. Also a musician. I felt this sense of adventure and hope and happiness initially. He made me feel really good. The sexuality was great between us in the beginning. We were together a lot. And then he got into another touring band. And I already knew the people that he was involved with were drug addicts. And, you know, that happens a lot when you're in the music industry. People are surrounded by a lot of drugs. And, I mean, I'm a musician, I get it. I mean, I take very good care of myself, and I'm very conscious about partying. But my ex wasn't. And he was lying about a lot of stuff, and I took his word more often than I should have and trusted him when I shouldn't have. And he was lying about quite a bit, but I just was riding the wave with him, you know, and was really blindly in love. And we moved in together pretty quickly. We had a cool house together, and it was a good situation in a sense. But then he began touring a lot more. There was a lot more space. There was a lot more lies. There was a lot more tension. I knew he was doing shit behind my back. And it was only getting worse over time. You know, finally it got to a point where I had to confront him. He was doing hard drugs and lying about it. I gave him an ultimatum about getting clean or I'm out. He finally committed to getting sober, and he did. Reluctantly, and it was quite an uphill battle in getting him to that point, but he did it, and I was happy about that. But in the meantime, you know, he did a lot of really fucked up things. I mean, he had a Tinder account. He fucking was on Tinder while we were dating, and caught him in the act of trying to invite girls to his fucking hotel room to have sex with him. I mean, I should have dumped his ass then. I don't know why I didn't, but I was just so fixated on making it work with this person. I didn't want to give up because I just don't like to give up on people. It's just my nature. And I constantly root for the underdog and believe in people so much when I love them. And goddamn, I mean, but he just took this for granted. I mean, in his mind, he probably just thought, oh, you know, I could just keep getting away with shit, right? She'll just keep taking me back. I fucked up in that department. I mean, I should have dumped his ass a year and a half before we actually did. But I didn't. And, you know, our sexuality was kind of a roller coaster. I mean, it was strange. And I will add, you know, that I was completely loyal to him. I wasn't shooting anything, you know, I wasn't doing anything except I had my OnlyFans and I was just shooting content with him. And he constantly would make remarks about my past and about modeling and social media and things because he was basically projecting his own insecurity onto me, right? And he was an absolute narcissist. I mean, the gaslighting, I mean, the ridiculous things that would come out of his mouth in order to make me as insecure as him. Instead of uplifting me, it was a matter of trying to drag me down to his level. I mean, it was every aspect of a narcissistic, abusive relationship. But I was just so fixated on making it work. I did not want to fail. In my mind, ending the relationship was like failing, which is so inaccurate. But, you know, when you're in the midst of it, it's very hard to let go of something that you feel like you've been working so hard on. And towards the end, well, the last year, I guess we were together, COVID happened. And all the plans of touring and traveling, because I was on the road with him at points too, with the band and doing my own stuff and whatever. And, you know, I was trying to make it work with his touring and my lifestyle and just the traveling. And I was really doing my best to balance it and to be together as much as we could. And of course, he constantly wanted, you know, to do his own thing because, you know, he was doing shit behind my back. And so there was so many red flags throughout the duration of the relationship. I mean, looking back in retrospect, I mean, so many red flags. I just cringe when I think about it. But, you know, all this suffering, this experience was necessary for me to create the level of standards and expectations that I will have in a future relationship. So it happened for a reason, you know, and in order to ignite the flame, you need to endure the burning sometimes, right? So this was that. But COVID happened and he was freshly sober. He was getting drug tested regularly. He was on the road of recovery, basically. And he was miserable. I mean, all of a sudden the touring stopped, you know, which I understand. I have a lot of musician friends and myself, you know, that it sucks. Like when you're not able to play live shows and you're not able to be on the road. But it is what it is. You know, you got to make the most of what the situation is. You know, you can't just sit around and be miserable because COVID happens. I mean, you got to fucking move forward. And I was trying my best to just inspire him and be positive and engage our time and be motivated to do other things, you know, in the meantime, and just focus on internal work and getting stuff done and strengthening our relationship. And it was just not like that for him. I mean, he was a complete miserable fuck. And our sexuality absolutely dwindled and just was going out the window. I mean, I would try to hug him and he would push me off of him. I mean, it got to the point where there was absolute no physical affection on his end. And I mean, it drove me crazy. Like, it drove me insane. I would literally try to throw myself at him sexually. I would have done anything for him. And he couldn't have given a fuck. And this is someone, you know, I'm living with him and he'll, you know, tell me he loves me for what? Actions. Actions are what matter. Your words are fucking useless when you don't have the actions that actually follow through with what you're saying. And I don't know why, to this day, he wasn't able to express that physical affection the way he initially had. And I mean, maybe the drugs, maybe resentment. It was a mixture of things, I guess. But it was absolute misery, and it was complete toxicity. I mean, it was the epitome of an emotionally and mentally abusive relationship. And, you know, I didn't want to admit it to myself at points, but it was. And he didn't certainly want to admit that. He would say, I'm overreacting, and, oh, you know, it's in your head, like the gaslighting, like a narcissist would. And many times, you know, I would attempt to break up or threaten, like, you know, I'm done, like, I can't do this anymore. And it would just be this roller coaster bullshit back and forth for months and months, and we would be good for a month, and then it would topple back. And when I say good, it was just, you know, maybe he was somewhat positive, but the lack of affection and barely a sex life was really tough on me, because I'm a very sexual and affectionate person, and I wasn't getting that in a relationship. And even during that time, I never cheated. I never even thought about doing something behind his back, because when it comes to loyalty, you stick it through and you communicate. You don't try to justify doing something bad just because your partner is not doing what you need. If it gets to a point where you're not getting it, then you leave, which is eventually what happened. But the culmination of the relationship happened for a very specific thing. I told you the cheating had happened with the Tinder and the setting up of having sex with someone. That had happened, amongst obviously the drugs and the lying. There were so many reasons to have ended the relationship. But like I told you, I stuck it out because I wanted to make it work with him, because I really thought that, you know, I loved him and this was my ride or die partner. I would have done anything for him. And the lack of affection was enough to drive me insane. And one day, after hiking together, I had to go out to work. I had just gotten my yoga certification done, and I had some clients that I was going to teach some yoga, and I was going to be out for like half the day. Had to drive out of LA for a little bit, and we had both showered, and I was getting ready, and I was feeling kind of sexual, you know, and attractive, and I'm like, hey, like, you want to have sex before I go? He looks at me and looks at his shoes, and he's like, I just put my shoes on. I kind of just shake my head. I'm like, okay, sorry I asked. And I walk away. And I can hear him having a temper tantrum in the other room. Fine, oh my God, I have to always have it your way. You're Felicity Feline. Always have to have a fucking sex. You're like a sex fiend. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, like, what is my reality right now? And I walk back in the room like, look, I'm sorry I asked, just forget about it, okay? Like, seriously, don't even, forget it. Grabs my hand, oh no, is this what you want? Like, drags me into the bedroom, pushes me on the bed, presses his face against mine. Oh, is this what you want? Is this good? Is this enough sex for you? Just fucking with me, being a complete dick. And, you know, we have the most uncomfortable, awkward sex. He goes down on me, and I orgasm. And I tell myself, wow, at least I had an orgasm. That's my mental state. At least I had an orgasm. Pathetic. We have sex for about 2 minutes. Comes, jumps off, goes into the bathroom. I'm sitting there on the bed just thinking like, wow, okay, at least I had an orgasm. He walks back into the bedroom. I start saying, yeah, you know, it's nice to have sex before like one of us leaves for the day, because we're in a good mood and we're just thinking about each other and we're happy. And Before I could finish that sentence, he looks at me and says, yeah, you know, the whole kissing thing, I'm not into it. I don't like kissing you. Stab to the heart. If the other stuff wasn't bad enough, that was enough to just send me over. Immediately, I want to die. I crawl in a hole. And I start crying. And I walk out. And I go. And I leave. And getting texts from him. Oh, come on, you know, stop being so sensitive. Stop overreacting. Blah, 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 blah. Trying to be all cute. Send me pictures of him and Feline, my dog. And I didn't respond to him. I came home. He was asleep. Something in my gut was telling me to look at his phone, which I trust my gut because every time I had in the past, I was always right about something. I looked through his phone. Every time I had fucking left the house, he's watching porn. There's screenshots of porn on his phone. In his trash. His recently deleted on his phone. So that motherfucker is watching porn behind my back, not having sex with me, denying me physically, not giving me affection, but he's watching porn. If anyone thinks that that's okay, you're out of your fucking mind. And that was enough to set me over the edge. I kicked his ass out, okay? Because that was the ultimate slap in the face of every level of disrespect, I mean, possible he had done to me. But that was just the most cruelest thing that you could do to someone's self-esteem. And it is not okay to be watching porn behind your partner's back without you being honest about what you're doing. That's not being loyal. That's not being loyal. I don't care what society says, but you need to wake up to the fact that you want to be a good partner. You be honest about where you're putting your sexual energy. Because sexuality is shared between two people. And if you're putting your sexual energy into an artificial stimulus that is not conducive to a healthy relationship, that's not being loyal. So you should think twice about what the fuck you're doing and wake up to the reality and step up to the plate and be a good partner. Because no one deserves to feel insecure and unwanted and feel neglected in a relationship because you would rather watch something on your fucking screen. So sick of people trying to justify that. It's not the norm, okay? It's not, oh, society says it's okay. Doesn't matter, okay? When you're in a partner, you focus on your partner. You don't need to watch porn when you're in a relationship. And if you feel like you do, then you communicate that to your partner. Stop doing shit behind your partner's back. It's not okay. I'm sick. So sick of this society thinking that it's okay. Wake up. Wake up. Have accountability for what you're doing and how you're treating your partner, how you're treating other people. Have accountability and be honest. And remember that honesty and vulnerability is what creates connection and intimacy. And intimacy is freedom.